Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As is customary on Ekadasi, it's Ekadasi today, isn't it? We're reading, at least it's become a custom, from Giriraj Swami's opus, I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. Story time. And I have picked out a few, the speaker is supposed to add some personal or things that he knows about Prabhupada pastimes. And it's getting harder and harder to find those pastimes you haven't heard about. Been around for a while. Of course, people just coming, it's all new. But I tried to find some that hopefully you haven't heard yet. So we'll get to those after we read some pages from this book. This is now in the chapter Facing Challenges, which I don't need that. No. I have enough fans. I don't need another fan. Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very practical. I want to give Krishna prema. One should be ecstatic and emotional in Krishna prema. One should cry for Krishna. And he taught everyone by his practical example how he was mad after Krishna. I remember when I first was coming, I was hearing this mad after Krishna. I said, why would anyone be mad with God? I couldn't quite get that you were crazy in love, mad with Krishna. Govinda Vaharena Me. Sayuyitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vaharena Me. This is Krishna Prema. Without Krishna, one should see everything vacant. This is Radharani's Prema. Prabhupada was quoting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shashastaka, 7th verse. Yugayitam namishena chakshusha pravashitam sanyayitam jagat sarvam Govinda Vaharena Me. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I remember for the first few years back in the early 70s, I always thought it was 14 years. I was really relieved. It's only like 12 years or more that she was feeling. I always thought, okay, like I'm feeling pains of separation like around like 14 years of separation. No, it was 12. But that's not possible for an ordinary human being, he continued. It might be possible for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and few devotees. His immediate disciples, the 6 Goswamis, were following the same principle. The 6 Goswamis lived in Vrindavan, and they were seeking Krishna, becoming mad. He Radhe Vrajadivike, Chalalita He Nanda Shuna Kundaha, Shri Govardhan Kalpa Papata Tale, Kalindavane Kuntaha, Goshatav Ite Sarvato Vrajapura Kader, Mahavihalo, Bande Rupa Sanat Tano Raghu Yugo, Sri Jiva Gopalo. They were mad after Krishna. Where is Krishna? They never said, we have seen Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I was dreaming of Krishna. So why you woke me? I have lost that chance. In this way, they were doing bhajan. This is called viraha bhajan, separation, the most highly recommended process. So we should be awaken our consciousness, Krishna consciousness, in such a way that being separated from Krishna, we shall become mad after him. This is Krishna Prema. That Prema was being distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is still distributing. So I was living here about, 9 years ago. I was living here in the temple. And I was in the lobby during, I think there was kirtan going on after Guru Puja, and the lobby's pretty empty. And this woman came, and she stood at the window, and she was just scolding Krishna. You're such a rascal. You don't keep your word. I can't count on you. She was going on and on out loud in English so I could understand it. And I was like, what's going on with this? She has this kind of rasa basa relationship with the Lord, She's feeling very angry with Krishna. I couldn't quite comprehend why she was so disappointed. But it was only later when I began to understand the mood of Radha, how Radha becomes extremely annoyed with Krishna, and that annoyance is out of love. Similarly, this woman's her dissatisfaction was because of her enormous attachment to Krishna. It was out of her love for Krishna that she was exhibiting this very high behavior of ecstatic love. And this is can be the mood of Radharani, because she becomes mad after Krishna. Really, in that sense, really mad. So it was kind of a demonstration to me. And it's happened numerous times right in this temple where I've seen devotees actually exhibiting very elevated symptoms of love of God. It's not something that is just lived in the 16th century amongst the close disciples or just amongst the high Vaishnavas. Actually, it's available, and it comes, and we can't check it. It doesn't have any rules. It doesn't have any regulations. It's spontaneous. And it's to be appreciated when we can see it on the transcendental level. Whereas at that time I was seeing, that's a lot of aparad. But it wasn't. And I see that same thing in my own family and my wife, her relationship. Sometimes she'll be really angry with Krishna because he didn't give her this, or it rained and ruined her ability to go out and garden, or whatever it is. And I can just sit and fold my hands and appreciate that there are devotees who actually have these symptoms and have these experiences of Krishna, and that it's very real. It's not only living in some lofty descriptions in our books. Prabhupada was giving us a glimpse of his own internal mood of Krishna consciousness and inspiring us to follow in his footsteps. 2 days later, when he reached verse 32 of the 25th chapter of the Bhagavatam's 3rd canto, quote, when that service spirit is engaged in devotional service to the personality of Godhead without any motive, that is far better even than salvation, he explained. A devotee is not very much anxious for mukti, because a devotee is always mukti, liberated. If you've got millions of dollars, why should you hanker after 10 rupees? Bhakti is such a nice thing. But what is bhakti? Bhakti is anamita bhagavati. Bhakti should be amita, animita. Not without a motive that I shall go to the temple and serve Krishna for some purpose. Krishna can fulfill any purpose you desire. It's not very difficult for him because he's almighty and full of opulences. So if you want material happiness from Krishna, it's not very difficult for him. He can give you even mukti. But to ask Krishna for anything other than bhakti is foolishness. My Guru Maharaj, we all have our services, and we, pray to Krishna, please, Krishna, give me the money to make my movie already. Give me a ride to that temple so I can be at the opening. Give me this, give me that. We all have our conditions for our devotional service, our seva. But here Prabhupada said, don't ask for anything other than bhakti, no matter how it shows up. My Guru Maharaj used to give this example. If you go to a rich man and say, whatever you like, you can ask from me and I'll give you. Then if you ask him, give me a pinch of ash, is that very intelligent? Similarly, there's a story that one old woman, that reminds me of when I was a kid, they said, well, if you had 3 wishes, what would your wishes be? Right? And I always think, well, my first wish would be that I could have all the wishes that I want, and they'd all come true. Then the parents would say, oh, be careful what you wish for. You might make a mistake. So here, Prabhupada's saying, if you're going to ask anything for Krishna, why ask him for just something he's like you're going to a wealthy man, you should ask for something big. So Krishna asked for the biggest thing, asked for bhakti. Similarly, there's a story that one old woman in the forest was carrying a big bundle of dry wood, and somehow or other, the bundle fell down. It was very heavy. So the old woman became very much disturbed. Who will help me to get this bundle back on my head? She began to call God. God, help me. And God came. What do you want? Kindly help me to get this bundle on my head. Just see. God give me a benediction, and she wanted to put this bundle back on my head. So we are doing the same thing. This is Prabhupada. We're doing the same thing. We go to God and ask him, kindly give me the bundle on my head. May my family become happy. May I have a large amount of money to enjoy material things. We ask that. That's our foolishness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us, therefore, that actually, if you want something from God, that should only be begging for his service. This reminds me of when I first got a request. I was at my preaching center in L.A. Back in the early 80s. I got a request from a donor. He was helping us. And he said, I just got a new car. Can you bless the car? I was thinking to myself, what does that mean? Blessing a car? I mean, bless a car. It's a piece of metal. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to insult him. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something in the Vedic culture or Indian culture, about, blessing cars. So, I talked to my God brothers and God sisters, what is this? It's just part of your outreach, your preaching. You just bless the car. I said, what do you do to bless a car? How do you bless a car? Well, bring a garland, you put it on the you put it on the hood of the car, and then you say the Hare Krishna mantra, and say a few words of how they should be safe in this car, and that's how you bless a car. So okay, they brought the car. We had a garland made. I went out, and I'm blessing this car, and I'm thinking, this is what we're asking. This is what these people are asking Krishna for. Here's Prabhupada. Compare what Prabhupada's saying. Don't ask the rich man for a small thing. Ask him for the most valuable thing, which is bhakti. And here we are asking, to bless a car. And I actually went here to a blessing, to a car. I kind of learned. You kind of learn to live this double life. It's like Superman. He goes into the telephone booth, comes out as Superman. Goes in as an ordinary man. It's kind of how you feel as a devotee sometimes. You kind of go in, okay, here I'm just an ordinary person doing the ritualistic things. And then, when you're out in Harinam and you're handing out prasad or books or anything, then you feel like Superman, because you're just totally, it's like we're all schizophrenic in this world in some way, isn't it? Anyway, that's the way I feel. I don't know how we do it. I don't know how a psychologist or a psychiatrist looks at the Hare Krishna devotees. I know that we have one thing that they did discover in common, that we all are very, what was the commonality? It was called compulsive. Devotees are generally, when you become a full-time Hare Krishna devotee, you're generally diagnosed as being somewhat compulsive. I don't know why they think that, because, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but there is a certain compulsivity about getting up early in the morning and chanting 16 rounds. There's a certain amount of that that's required. Yes, I hope I am compulsive about chanting 16 rounds a day. Despite the fact, as I was experiencing the other day, despite the fact that sometimes it's just, you feel like you're just chanting mechanically. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What you're doing is you're doing the duty that you are prescribed to do by your spiritual master. And if he says a rope is a snake, it's a snake. If he says chant Hare Krishna every day, you chant Hare Krishna every day. That is the secret of spiritual advancement, to satisfy the spiritual master. Okay, let's see where we went from here. Okay, that's the prayer, not give me money or give me a beautiful wife or many followers. These are material hankerings. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no. Na dhanam na janam na sundaram. Kavitam sa jagadita kamaye. He prayed, O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, beautiful wife, or fruit of activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. Hearing Srila Prabhupada's strong words, by his grace, I felt both chastened and enlivened. Continuing his talks on Srimad Bhagavatam 325, Prabhupada came to verse 35. Prashyanti te mirucharani ambasantaha prashana vaktaruna lochanami rupani divyani varapradani sakamvacham sprahadyatam vandanti. Oh, my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. He related the verse to our beautiful deities of SriSriRadha and the benefit people receive by appreciating them. Here it is said, Prashanti Temi Rucharani. Krishna is so beautiful. Rucharani. Ruchira means very attractive. Now, unfortunately, people in Bombay say our deity here is most beautiful. They say there is no such deity in Bombay city. So this is our duty, to dress Krishna in such an attractive way that people at least see that it is very beautiful. And by the way, if you're not a pujari and you're not dressing, but you live in the temple and you're doing seva, you are dressing that deity. You are participating in supporting all of the activities of this temple, and those activities attract the people, attract their Lakshmi, which is necessary to buy the beautiful outfits and flowers and ornaments and so many other things. Everybody participates in pujari worship. Some may appear to get the credit, but just like when Prabhupada would come to a temple, and some devotees, everyone would rush out to the airport to greet him, there are always those that stayed back to do the cooking, to do the pujari service. They also were participating in greeting Prabhupada. It's a spiritual movement. It's not a physical movement. It's very spiritually based, and that's our foundation. So never feel unconnected. When I chant, wherever I am, I'm connecting myself, like the internet, to every other devotee who's chanting all over the world. I'm connected. I'm never disconnected if I'm chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That's how I actually feel. So that if I'm away from a temple and I come to a temple, I don't feel that I've been disconnected from devotees. Oh, I haven't seen you in a long time. But I felt you in our common journey to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and purify our hearts. I'm always, and you are always connected to each other in that way, even with the differences that we may have. Krishna is so kind that he has consented to appear in a way that we can see. At the present moment, we cannot see Krishna as he's spiritually embodied. Satchidananda Vigraha, because we have no eyes to see Satchidananda Vigraha. He's also Satchidananda Vigraha, Archamurti. It's not idol worship. That was a very big thing for many of us, especially coming from the Abrahmanic faiths, Judaism and Christianity. Thou shalt have no idols before me. Thus saith the Lord. That's right in the Bible. So for Westerners entrenched in that religious tradition, it was, I can't worship an idol. It's idol worship. But Prabhupada, somehow or another, I don't know how, pried our eyes that were glued shut to the idea that God could inhabit a form, a material form. He pried open those deadened eyes to see the possibility that Krishna was actually in the deity form. And that was a miracle. Just an incredible miracle. You can't imagine. Prabhupada started this movement with Westerners who were invested, who were propagandized with this idea that God cannot be seen in anything material. And here's this revolutionary. He comes out, no, that's not right. But how we came to that understanding is nothing short of a miracle. It's a miracle. Really, it's a miracle. For you in India, it's no big deal. You know, you grew up with 330 million idols, and a few of them were actually deities. But, you know, we in the West, we grew up actually with hypocrisy, because one of the great standard bearers of Christianity is Christ on the cross hanging in the church. And people come in, they look at Christ and the cross, and their hands become like pranams, and they pray to that idol, which actually for them is their deity. So they deny the idea that there's deity worship, but there it is in their own religion. Hare Krishna. SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple ki jai. SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple ki jai. Shri Ram Lakshmana Hanuman Sita ki jai. Hari Hari Bol. Okay, those who've got the eyes, they can see just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he entered the temple of Jagannath, immediately he fainted. Oh, here's my Lord. Here's my Lord. So one has to become santaha. Then one can see. But it is by culture. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santaha sadaiva. When you develop that culture, when you develop that love, notice culture and love are synonymous. It's not culture like Indian culture or Russian culture or European culture. It's the culture of bhakti, of love. When you develop that love for Krishna, then you will see immediately and you will faint. Oh, here's my Lord. On December 13th, Prabhupada wrote to his friend D.V. Chana Reddy, the governor of UP, summarizing our difficulties in obtaining the NOC and permission to build, and asking him to approach the governor of Maharashtra and request him to do justice to us. I like Prabhupada, do us justice. Justice be done. You know, Prabhupada, he didn't mince his words. My dear Sri Redhaji, the affectionate Redhaji, I thank you very much for your kind acceptance of our invitation, and I've read your letter dated November 19th, 1974 with great interest. Your acceptance of the authority of the Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam through the blessing of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given me so much transcendental bliss that my ecstasy knows no bounds. Imagine getting a letter like that from Prabhupada. He's describing how himself, how he feels about the fact that someone accepted an invitation. So humble. Very rarely do we find, now he's glorifying them, do we find such an ideal devotee like you in the public field. Actually speaking, according to the Vedic conception of life, every head of state should become Rajarsi, which means a king or governor or ruling chief should be as ideal as a great saint or rishi. Now, I'm not going to talk politics, but I'm going to say that I just read something that Prabhupada wrote where he's speaking about Varnashram, and he says that actually it's the duty of the, although he says in this talk, he says that in America monarchy is no longer possible. But still, the head of state should institute spiritual values in society. In other words, Prabhupada has the point of view that it is the duty of whomever is leading the government to promote spiritual life. Now, there are some people who think the government should be completely secular, but not Prabhupada. Just so we should be clear, he is not a secularist when it comes to politics. Now, I don't pretend to say how Srila Prabhupada would feel in the present climate. I can only guess, so that's a speculation, so I won't go there. But I can at least quote his words, that that's the duty of a politician, is to spread Sanatana Dharma. He says, actually speaking, therefore formerly saintly kings were many. The Mahabharata means greater Bharat. So we find saintly kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Bharat, and so on. What to speak of King Lord Ramachandra. The whole history of the battle of Kurukshetra is based on this principle of finding out a Rajarsi on the throne of the kingdom. Lord Krishna himself took part in the battle of Kurukshetra to install Maharaj Yudhisthira on the throne of the world empire and to pluck out the usurper king like Duryodhana from the seat of the ruling power. Whomever thinks Prabhupada does not have a very good command of the English language hasn't read everything Prabhupada's written. This idea to pluck out, Prabhupada picks this word, he plucks that word out. Pluck out. What plucks? Garuda plucks a snake. You take it out, you remove it. It's not desirable. It has to be plucked away. A hair has to be, an errant hair has to be plucked out. Prabhupada's use of English was perfect. So good. His whole Krishna book was dictated from his mind to a dictaphone and then transcribed. Never saw a typewriter. And it's perfect. This is recorded in the Bhagavad-gita, 4th chapter. Imam vishvate yogam proktavanoham avyayam vishvasan manave prava manur uksha kave bravit. So, at the present moment, there's great need of Rajarsis on the head of the ruling government. So I'm glad, he's still addressing this. Who's he addressing? He's addressing Mr. Sri Rediji. So I'm glad to see you're on the throne of Uttar Pradesh as governor, and I expect your administration should be as ideal as the former Rajarshis. At least I expect that you should try to give an example of an ideal governor from the holy place of Uttar Pradesh. Where is situated such holy places as Ayodhya, Varanasi, Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Haridwar, etc. I always say hardware, like a hardware store. In Bhagavad-gita, it's stated, Yad yad arati shreshtas tatta eva tato janaha sa yat prama nam kurte lokastad anuvartate. Whatever action is performed by a great man, common men will follow in his footsteps, and whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues. I wish that your tenure of office, still writing, guy, I wish that your tenure of office may be an exemplary administration with reference to the principles of the Bhagavad-gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. I thank you once more for your agreeing to be our chief guest on the day of Sri Ram Navami, the inauguration ceremony of our temple in Vrindavan. See how Prabhupada, he preaches, I want you to be like this, and then he praises. He preaches and he praises. He preaches and he praises. He gets his message in, and then calms the waters. It's amazing. His letter writing is poetic. I wish that you may come one day before the ceremony and remain there at least 24 to 30 hours in Vrindavan, and by the grace of Krishna Balaram, I may arrange for your comfortable stay in our ashram house, which is completing construction. I want this opportunity so that we may talk a little bit on the principles of Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the matter of political, social, philosophical, religious, and cultural development of the human society. This is Prabhupada's vision. It's not just, a small little ISKCON society. He's got the whole world in his head. He's the vision for everybody in every area that can be utilized to spread this very simple message. Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. I'm pushing on this Hare Krishna movement all over the world with an idea of uniting the human society on the principles of Bhagavad Gita as it is. I've already established many, many temples all over the world. One of the temples you have already seen is our Vrindavan construction. And similarly, I want to establish a great center in Bombay, because Bombay is the most important city in India. Many foreigners come to Bombay to enjoy the Juhu beach atmosphere, and there are already many foreign hotels like Sun and Sand, Horizon, Holiday Inn, and so on. So in order to attract the foreigners, I purchased land in Juhu, 20,000 yards, just one block from the sea beach, a little exaggeration. And I'm trying to get sanction for constructing the temple, but it's being hampered by the dilatory, another great word here, dilatory, method of the municipality and the police commissioner. Yeah, Prabhupada's like in like a needle, out like a plow, right? I mean, his letter writing is terrific. And in those days, you didn't have emails. Letters meant something. You got a letter, you read that letter. When we got letters from Prabhupada, we pored over that letter. We read it so many times. We read each other's letters to each other. What did Prabhupada say to you? Oh, we got a letter from Prabhupada, let's read it. Everyone in the temple, you could hear a pin drop. Okay, read it, come on. I am. I'm just trying to digest. Read it. Just after purchasing the land, we submitted our plans to the municipality, and the municipality wanted the police commissioner's sanction, and thus we submitted our application to the police commissioner on November 15th, 1973. And we received the reply as follows. Now Prabhupada's got him so into this thing, now he's going to have him read the reply that they got from the commissioner. Dear sir, reference to your letter dated November 19th, 1973, on the subject noted above, there is no objection to your digging the allotted space for the temple structure, Hare Krishna land, Bombay, 54. You're advised to approach this office afresh for a no objection certificate when you decide to construct a permanent structure at this site in question after plans have been approved by the municipal commissioner. Yours faithfully, for the Commissioner of Police, Bombay. Prabhupada goes on to write this Mr. Chana Reddy, governor of UP. So as advised in this letter, our engineer and architects applied for the final sanction by the police commissioner, and we received a surprising letter as follows. Subject, no objection certificate for the construction of a temple by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Hare Krishna Land, Gandhi Gram Road, Juhu, Bombay, 54. Dear sir, reference to your letter number such and such dated November 21st, 1973, and the subject noted above, it is regretted your request for the grant of a no objection certificate to the construction of a temple on Hare Krishna land, Gandhi Gram Road, Bombay, 54, cannot be granted on the following grounds. The construction of a temple may lead to more traffic. More traffic. It was Juhu. Juhu wasn't Juhu as it is today. It was a sleepy little village, fisherman's village, in 1973. The only cars on the road were ambassadors. There were some cows. There were some rickshaws. Traffic. What traffic? The bhajan singing, which had been complained about in part, is likely to be a nuisance in the future. Yours faithfully, Commissioner of Police. Prabhupada goes on to Mr. Reddy. The matter is since then suspended, and later on we proved there's no nuisance. Neither is there any difficulty with the traffic. It was properly inquired by the traffic police, and we gave over land for extending the road, and the municipality has accepted the proposal to their letter as follows. Now Prabhupada's burdening him to go on to read another letter. Sir, you are requested to advise your client to hand over the setback land as the work of widening the road is being taken in hand by this office. You are requested to remove the fencing and re-erect beyond setback land. Assistant Engineer Maintenance. So, Prabhupada goes on to say, in this way the matter has been prolonged since November 1973, and no final decision had been made either by the municipality or by the police commissioner. Recently, we reminded the police commissioner, the copy of which is enclosed herewith, but still have not received any final decision. Accordingly, the permission for digging, and according to the municipality's advice, we expanded the internal road to 30 feet, sacrificing many trees. You know what it says in the Bhagavatam about cutting down trees. It's demonic to cut down trees. And here Prabhupada would cut down the trees, satisfy their desires so they could build the temple. That's how important it was. Prabhupada did preserve the tree here, but he was willing to cut down the trees for the road. I therefore request you to help me in this very great perplexing situation. I was to go to foreign countries, Bangkok, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Honolulu, Fiji, Australia, and South Africa for 2 to 3 months. But on account of this situation, I postponed my touring at the cost of my preaching activities. That's how important building this temple was. Can you imagine? He's supposed to go preaching all around the world. if you kindly help me, so I postponed, and at last I'm taking your shelter. Now here it comes. Because, the best way to get people to work with you is to ask them to help us. Help us with this campaign to feed the hungry. Help us with this campaign to build Mayapur. Always when people are asked for help, it is the best form of solicitation because people want to help. The soul wants to help. Everybody, almost everybody in the world wants to help. A lot of people, of course, want to help themselves. That's also true. But generally, when you're asking in a donation campaign, you appeal to their altruistic side. I want to help. Help me. Can you help me become Krishna conscious, Brajahari Prabhu? Can you? See? He's agreeing by his silence. He's agreeing. Okay. As you know from the above, so he says, we're just spreading the philosophy of the Bhagavad-gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we've had no difficulty in constructing temples in every part of the world. In other words, everybody else likes us, except here in Bombay, where we've been choked up. I like that word he uses, choked up, grabbed by the throat, strangled, choked. Beautiful. I mean, Prabhupada's, his mastery of English is, anyone who says, that he needs, I can say things better than Prabhupada, nonsense. As you know from the above facts, there's no cause for obstructing us. If the temple is a nuisance, there's another temple just in front of us already. Our temple's never been accused of so-called nuisance, and I do not know why the police commissioner has raised this question. Anyway, I have dated to take shelter of your excellency. Now he's an excellency. Now he's appealing to his ego. Just to request you to contact the governor of Bombay and request him to do justice to us by personally seeing the records and files called for from the police commissioner of Bombay. Please recommend our case for constructing the temple, as we are innocent in the matter of so-called intrigues and politics. By this act of your generosity, here it comes now. Here comes the blessing. If you do this, by your act of generosity, I wish Krishna will bless you and will save us from this great unnecessary anxiety. I hope this will meet you in good health and wish my good wishes. Notice Prabhupada bifurcates his good wishes from Krishna's blessings. He said, I'm not Krishna, but I can also give you whatever I have. And regards, I beg to remain your affectionately, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Is that a perfect letter, or is that a perfect letter? This is Prabhupada. He's perfect. Prabhupada is so perfect. So let me put this aside for a minute with the few minutes that we have left. I did bring a couple of pastimes with me. Because I've already told my pastime so many times here. You've already heard them. If you haven't heard them, I'll be happy to tell you privately. So I thought I'd share something. I'll share something that's not here that was really amazing, and it's about money. You want to hear a pastime about Prabhupada and money? Let's see. When I tell you this pastime, just compare how you are with money. The way Prabhupada. So Sarabi comes, he's building the temple in Vrindavan, which this letter was just about. And he's come to request more money for the construction from Prabhupada. Comes with his list and what it's for. Comes in, presents it to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, okay, come, I'll review it. Come back tomorrow. So the next day, Sarabi comes in, a little nervous, because, he wants, his project is in competition for the money with Gargamuni, who's doing the Mayapur project. So they're kind of in competition for whatever monies are coming in. There's never enough. Have you ever known a time where there's enough money? always, it's like, it's like the way my relationships are. It's never enough love. It's never enough praise. It's never enough, never enough, never enough. So there's never enough money, and there's a certain amount of one-upsmanship between devotees. I want to complete my project better, sooner, more efficiently than you complete your project. So Prabhupada has a check on his desk for, Sarabi Swami comes in, pays obeisances, walks to the tent, puts his hand out to take the check. Prabhupada said, I have the check ready for it. And he holds it in his hand. And Sarabi, tugs at the check like you would do to take the check out of Prabhupada's hand. And Prabhupada doesn't let go of the check. So, Sarabi's kind of bent over the table, and they both have their thumbs and forefingers on the check at either end. Prabhupada says, so where will you deposit this check? And he says, I'm going to deposit it in the Punjab National Bank in Mathura. Prabhupada says, and how will you get to Mathura? Well, I'll take a rickshaw from Vrindavan to Mathura. Oh. How much does the rickshaw cost? Whatever paisa at that time a rickshaw cost, wasn't much. Prabhupada said, do they accept deposits by mail? So I said, yes. Yes, they do. And Prabhupada asked, how much is a postage stamp? 2 paisa. Prabhupada takes back the check from the thumb and forefinger of Sarabi. Then I'll mail it. How does that compare to how we are? Huh? Prabhupada was looking over every paisa. This is our Acharya. He's setting the example. I have to say I'm not at that level, although my wife would say I'm that way. She would say, yeah, you're watching every penny. Yeah, I'm following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. I love that story. That story's not written anywhere, by the way. That was a story that Sarab told me himself about a year before he passed away. I remember going to a restaurant with Sarab Swami when I first came to India. He took me to a restaurant in Delhi, and I'm thinking, what the heck? He's eating food that's not offered. This is Maya. I'm at this restaurant. And secondly, I was very careful at that time of what I was eating, because every time I came to India, I got deathly ill. I hadn't developed now I can eat off a train station if I want to be in Maya. I can, okay, I'll take that. It's no problem. But then I was like afraid of eating anything. So he ordered a whole thali in this restaurant. And I'm like, gee, I don't know. I shouldn't be eating outside of the temple, And I think I ordered some, plain rice. I'll just have some plain rice. I thought it's like a medicine, And it was kind of my first introduction to the idea that rules are made to be broken. That everything is according to time and circumstance. It reminded me of when Prabhupada was at a life member's house in Hyderabad. And the life members served vegetarian, but the devotees noticed that it had onion and garlic. So nobody would take anything. And Prabhupada noticed that nobody was eating. Why are you not eating? And they said, Prabhupada, it has onion and garlic in it. Prabhupada was very stern. He looked at him. He said, if you do not take, you will insult the host. You must take. These kinds of teachings or examples, everything is just according to your circumstances. If you're in, like what Prabhupada said, well, Prabhupada, what if we don't have any food and we're in the Arctic, and the only thing to eat is like whales or seals or some animal that's there, then you must take. More important, you live, then you have to take. Everything is such according to, we don't lie. We're not supposed to lie. But if someone comes to your door and says, I'm here to murder your son, is he home? No, I'm sorry. Actually, he left for India last night. Won't be back for another, 35 years. It's okay to lie. Sometimes lying is there. You lie. There's a reason to lie. It was such a disappointment for me to know that we have to use our intelligence. When I first became a devotee, I said, oh, great. This is great. I don't have to use my mind anymore. My mind's gotten me into this mess. I'm in this total mess. I'm in this body. I have this situation. I got to suffer birth, death. It's all because of my own brain. Now I just do what I'm told. Because everything in those days, your authority, even if he'd only been a temple president for 2 minutes, he was representing the parampara. Right? That was it. The parampara was there. So you did whatever the authority said to do, thinking this is Krishna's arrangement for me. It took years to get out of that mindset. I know that I had a hint about it when I was told to leave by Kurandar in Los Angeles. He said, he said, you have to leave now, because my mother was causing a lot of problems. Writing Prabhupada many letters. Prabhupada, if you go to the folio, you see letters from Prabhupada, 2-3-page letters from Prabhupada to my mother. She was so concerned that I wasn't being taken well care of. And she held Prabhupada responsible. You're the leader. You're where the buck stops. You're responsible for my son. It's an amazing exchange. You should look it up sometime. And so Kurandar says you have to leave. I wasn't initiated. I looked down. I said, I'm not initiated. I said, if I go back home now, I said, everything is about association devotees. I'll be out of the association. I won't have my eternal link with my spiritual master. And for the first time in a year of being a bhakta, I said, I will not leave. Next morning, Kurandar comes up to me in the morning program. Prabhupada wants to see you. Oh, what did I do wrong? I'm thinking, but it's mercy. I'm going to finally have my own darshan with Prabhupada. And I go up to Prabhupada, and in that darshan, Prabhupada initiates me. I made the most spiritual progress in my entire life that day by saying no. Because it's according to time and circumstance. Kala, Desha, Patra, right? These things have to be considered. Okay, it's getting late. I'll leave you. I have so many more pastimes to share with you, but I'll just leave you with one. Let's see, which one? Which one? Okay, a short one. The bell tolls. For whom the bell tolls, the bell tolls for you. You know what that's from? It's of a very famous English author, Victor Hugo, I think, wrote that. For whom the bell tolls, or Hemingway. Was it Hemingway? For whom the bell tolls, the bell tolls for you. Whenever I hear that, I always think, death is coming. Death is coming. And one day that bell will be for me. And it could be today. I'm already 76. I don't know how long I've got left. I just read about people dying. My father died 10 years before he only lived to 65. I'm already on borrowed time. After the Gaur Purnima festival in March and April of 1977, Prabhupada came to Juhu. And at that time, the Juhu temple had opened, but work was still going on in the adjoining Twin Towers guest house. Prabhupada's quarters were on the top, we all know that. And we greeted Prabhupada at the front gate, and I, being Sarvabhaumana, took the opportunity to hop into one little place left in the front seat of the car. Srila Prabhupada was in the back, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Surabhi Maharaj, and Harisari were also in the car. Srila Prabhupada was looking straight ahead, and his features were a little drawn because he was not well. When we passed the Twin Towers, Prabhupada looked to the right, saw it pass, didn't say anything, and again looked straight ahead. We stopped in front of his old quarters in one of those two-story buildings in the back of the property. Prabhupada was staying on the property in one of the buildings where the BBT was housed, and we all hopped out, opened the trunk, and took out the luggage while Prabhupada sat in the car. There was a flurry of activity as we took Prabhupada's luggage and everything else upstairs. Then a devotee informed Prabhupada, "All your luggage is upstairs, you may come now." And Prabhupada said, "This is not my house. My quarters are in the Twin Towers. Why did you bring me here?" I was embarrassed. It was embarrassing for Surabhi because Prabhupada's quarters in the tower were not complete. Surabhi Maharaj hedged and hawed and wrung his hands, and Prabhupada said, "I am not staying. You promised to take me to my quarters, so take me there." And remained seated in the car. He didn't raise his voice. He was very calm. Everybody put all the things back in the car, and we returned to the guest house. The guest house elevator wasn't complete. It didn't reach the ground level yet, so two of us carried Prabhupada on a palanquin on the first floor, and from there, Prabhupada took the elevator to the top floor. We all went up also. His marble floor needed to be polished. There was muck everywhere. His windows were not in place, so a strong breeze was blowing in from the sea. Prabhupada sat in a chair as we washed his lotus feet. And then Surabhi Maharaj offered him Guru Puja. Surabhi Maharaj wanted to make amends for what he'd done, but the flame in the ghee lamp he was offering kept blowing out, and he was fumbling. In the meanwhile, Surabhi Maharaj arranged to have Prabhupada's reception area cleansed, and he also arranged for a little carpet, a small table, and a sitting asana for Prabhupada there. After the Guru Puja, Prabhupada quietly came and sat in his reception area. Most of the devotees were asked to leave, and about 10 of us remained. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Surabhi Maharaj, Giriraj, and some others, and we all sat down with our heads hanging down. We expected a thunderstorm from Prabhupada because his quarters were so messy and noisy. Prabhupada had his head hanging also. We sat like this for several minutes. It must have been like forever. In pin drop silence. Time lost its meaning. And finally, Prabhupada raised his head and spoke in a soft and tender voice. He said, anyone can guess what he said? He said, "All of you are trying so hard to please this old man who gets irritated so fast. I am old, and on top of that, I am unwell, so little things irritate me. But all of you are so tolerant." He went on like that for about 10 minutes. I thought I was the only one who was crying. But when I looked around, I saw that everyone had tears in their eyes, including Prabhupada. It was so sweet, so wonderful. How can you not love such a person? This was one of the most beautiful experiences I had with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki! Thank you. So, finished. What? You have questions?
Yes, if you allow, if you wish.
Huh.
If you allow, Prabhuji, I can ask one question. Thank you very much for narrating such wonderful pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, bringing us memory of Srila Prabhupada. In your reading this book, you mentioned, Prabhuji, that how Srila Prabhupada, writing this letter to Governor Reddy, and he was postponing his trips to give importance to this temple and how things move ahead, which is pending here, like getting permission from municipal and police for getting construction. So you mentioned, and Prabhupada mentioned, that how this city, Mumbai, is very important, and to build a temple here is very, very most important, and Prabhupada valued it so much. So how I understand that what is the vision of Srila Prabhupada for this temple? What he wished from such, when he says it will become a world-class preaching center, it will be the model for the whole world, that preaching will expand and people will follow, is we go out and do Sankirtan, do book distribution. And we have observed when such mass preaching is happening, lot of crowd attracts to temple. So is this that limited to this, that we do mass preaching? And other pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada in purport mention that our temple should be so attractive that whoever comes to our temple, they wanted to be become a member of the society. Like recently, in our this year anniversary festival, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj mentioned that temple is attractive not by the building. It is attractive by devotees' behavior who stay here. That makes the temple attractive. So what is the vision of Srila Prabhupada? Is just to attract a lot of people we have fulfilled, or it's that our society is, our community is so nourishing, so attractive, then when whoever comes, he become attached to it. Like you mentioned that the Prabhupada mentioned the example of Mataji, old Mataji who wished to have lift his bundle. So from having material desires to come to the platform of pure devotional service and going back to Godhead. When the members may have come with this material desires, but millions and millions of people are coming. They should have given the opportunity for rendering pure devotional service and going back to Godhead. Is this the vision of Srila Prabhupada, or how it is fulfilled or yet to fulfilled? What is your suggestion?
Correct me if I'm mistaken, but isn't that a rhetorical question? I mean, your question is rhetorical. You're saying Prabhupada wanted people to come, be attracted to the deities, to the devotees, to the atmosphere. What's not to like? As they say, slang expression, what's not to like here at this temple? I mean, I don't understand what the question is. Of course, it's obvious that Prabhupada was desirous of what we see today. But what we see today here doesn't exist in every one of the temples in ISKCON. This is unique. This temple has a special blessing so far. So far. There's no temple. I've traveled to many that can compare to this temple and the mood of the devotees here and the sense of love that exists and devotion that exists at this temple. This one temple that Prabhupada spent so much of his energy in creating. So it's very, very special to be connected in any way with this temple, with these deities, and with you devotees. In all of ISKCON. Don't think it's like this everywhere. It's not. You're very, very, very fortunate. And of course, familiarity breeds contempt. We tend to forget it, but I can vouch for it, coming and going, that this is uniquely special in all the three worlds, certainly in ISKCON. I hope that puts some perspective on the Prabhupada's desire that this is manifesting. Prabhupada is manifesting here in full, his full opulence. Some places he manifests, but not as fully. Yeah. Okay? Anything else? Jai. All glories to His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hari Bol.